Hi, welcome to the H4RL Career Podcast. I'm Jill.
And I'm Dave.
And today we're going to talk about the most in-demand careers and the majors that lead to them. So if you find this information helpful, please give us a thumbs up, a like, 5 stars, subscribe, whatever you can do to help us get this out there because we are a new podcast and we'd really love for people to hear this helpful information. So we're going to be telling you about the most in-demand careers and the majors that lead to those. But remember, just because a job has great growth and is in demand, that doesn't mean it's the right job for you. So make sure you visit us at h4rl.com and you can find out exactly how to figure out which job is going to be the best one for you, how to pick the right career, and how to make a plan for a career path that will lead to success.
What we mean by in demand, the way we're going to define that in this particular podcast is the careers that basically have the best outlook or growth potential over the next 10 years. So the ones that are going to be adding the most percentage of jobs to their current demand. Now, one thing you should keep in mind is don't just take a percentage as, the job that has the highest percentage is going to be the best one for you, because there's lots of things that go into finding the career that best suits your needs as far as like your personality, your strengths,
Absolutely.
your interests, all stuff like that. But this gives you an idea of like if one of these careers sounds interesting to you, to do further work to determine if that's the right career for you. But these are good ideas to start looking at because they have great growth potential down the road.
Which means that when you are ready to get a job, there's going to be a job available for you, which is a good thing.
Right. One other thing you need to look at is like how many jobs are there currently? Because if you look at it, if a career has like a 50% job growth in the future, but there's only like 100 jobs right now, that means they're only going to be adding 50 jobs, which is still not that many jobs, versus another job that might be adding 10%, but there's like a million of them out there. That means they're going to be adding 100,000 jobs, which is a lot better chances of getting a job at that point.
Right. And we have some jobs that are examples of those things, and we'll point that out as we talk through this.
Exactly. So let's get started. So to start us off, we're going to talk about careers that require basically degrees to go into it, and then we're going to talk about those particular ones. And then if you wait until the end, we're going to actually talk about some very high demand careers that don't really require college degrees as much. So we're going to kind of talk about those as well. So we're going to start off with, by the way, the national average as far as job growth for the next 10 years is expected to be 7.7%. So all of these are higher than that. So
the average job will grow and have that many more positions.
Correct.
But these are growing even more.
Exactly. And there'll be some jobs out there that would grow less than that, but, that just means it might be a little harder to find a job in the future for those. All right. So coming in with an 8% job growth in the future is a diversity and inclusion manager. Jill, what do these people do?
So companies really strive to make sure that they have a diverse set of employees and that all of those employees feel accepted and included at their workplace. And so this person is going to be working with managers and advising them on ways to make that happen. Okay.
So again, if you like working with people and diversity is very important to you and you want to make sure that companies really bring in people from a lot of different backgrounds, and that's not just necessarily ethnicity, that's educational backgrounds, that's like life and work experience backgrounds, and just make sure that you have a very diverse group of people that are working together, because honestly companies do better when they actually have a lot of different ideas coming together to help them grow, right?
Yeah, it can be a real benefit.
It can really be a benefit, and you actually will see positive changes in companies as well as people's lives. So if that sounds interesting to you, this is a potential area you might want to go into.
I think they work a lot with human resources.
They do, right? And as well as upper management as well, to help them understanding who to give input and to make sure it's a diverse group.
So what kind of careers are we looking at? Or majors, sorry,
are we looking at? Human resources management, business administration, those type of majors would help you get a good foothold into this type of career. All right. Next one is, coming at 9%, is a nurse. All right. What do nurses do, Jill?
Nurses provide patient care, so they might work in a hospital setting or a doctor's office, and they're hands-on with patients.
Right. So one thing I find out about nurses, they've actually kind of made it into some variations of them have made it into some of our other lists. If you've gone back and heard some of our other podcasts
Seems to be a really great career.
Some of the highest paying
you can handle
jobs,
it.
about the ones who
I
make
can't.
right. You have to be able to work with patients. You got to be able to handle the medical aspects. Needles, blood, and all those other bodily fluids you got to deal with. All right. You have to be able to handle all that kind of stuff. But if you can, this is a great career because it has a good job growth outlook at 9%. And you can actually get into some more specific ones. Like one is a surgical intensive care nurse, and they're going to grow at 12%, even more so. But we just said nurse for right now as a general broad idea.
And I think you probably can go into nursing and then specialize further if you decide you want to.
Absolutely. And their median pay is $81,000, so that's a very good salary to have. And we actually found out previously that they tend to feel like their jobs really matter. They actually make a difference in people's lives.
High job satisfaction.
So that's another good idea to think about. All right. Coming up after that is an AI engineer at 9% growth with a median salary of $127,000. So that's a very good salary at the median. What do AI engineers do, Joe?
AI engineers are working with software, and they're designing software that's specifically in the artificial intelligence realm, which means that this is sort of learning software where it's taking information and using that to make decisions, kind of.
Right. So AI...
Is that a good description? You
might
want to add to that.
I'm going to add to it. So AI is going to be a subset of software engineering or computer science engineers. All right. You're going to be a subset more specialized in artificial intelligence. And as of right now, artificial intelligence is primarily machine learning, right? Where you're developing and helping machines look and see patterns in a bunch of data sets, right? So you usually get data sets that have like millions and millions of cases, and then you feed that into the computers, and the computers are really good at finding individual patterns and stuff like that. And this is going to explode because you can use this in the financial industry big time. You can use it in the medical industry. They already do. You can use it in basically in business, any kind of business aspect to be able to sort through tons of data and find distinct patterns based off what so they can learn and adapt. You can find it in robotics. You're going to have more and more artificial intelligence. So this is definitely going to be growing significantly in the future. All right. So there's already a decent number of people in this field, but it's just going to keep growing significantly over the next 10 years. So if you're interested in computer science, and if you want to kind of be on the cutting edge of what they're going to be doing with it, artificial intelligence engineers are definitely right there. So something to think about.
And computer science would be a great major if you want to go that route. Exactly,
yes. All right. Number at 10%, the talent acquisition specialist. Their median salary is around $60,000. What do they do?
This is someone who's usually working again in a human resources department, and so they're responsible for finding the talent for open positions. So if there is a position open, they're going to be recruiting and looking for the right people to fill that, but they're also responsible for kind of networking all the time and keeping in contact with people so that when a position does come up, they know where to go to find the right people.
All right, so the kind of majors that would lead to this obviously would be human resources. These are basically people who are in human resources. They're kind of your recruiters and talent. They go out there, and you got to like to talk to people, by the way. If you want to do this, you got to be a people person. You got to be someone who really likes talking with people and getting to know them. So that's what they do a lot. All right. So I actually know several people who are recruiters, and they're constantly, the main job is to be on the phone, interviewing people and understanding their backgrounds, reviewing resumes. And for higher level jobs, like if you become a talent acquisition person to bring in higher corporate CEOs, that requires multiple interviews. Sometimes you're going out to dinner with people and having business dinners to try to understand, if they're going to be a good fit for your company. So you're going to be human resources background. You're going to be business, finance, even communications. And actually, honestly, I've heard some people even have some kind of music backgrounds and also English backgrounds going into this area because they just are people who tend to have that niche in their head that it's good and they can talk to people well. So it's just something you got to think about if that's your personality. All right. The next one, again at 10%, pretty much at the same level as the other one, is a marketing manager. Median salary for this one's $110,000. So another very good salary. Jill, what do they do?
Well, your marketing department is figuring out how a business should advertise. They're coming up with the different campaigns, advertising campaigns and things like that, the strategies they're going to use. And your manager is managing the whole team that's working on that. So that's not going to be an entry-level position, most likely.
No.
So you could be a marketing major, you'd move into the marketing department, get some experience in this, and then eventually move up as a manager.
Absolutely. And the major you probably most likely go in to do this is
Marketing.
So that's pretty obvious. All right. So that's another idea. If you kind of like that whole idea of like, figuring out how to communicate ideas or, come up with, a lot of times it's very creative, by the way. These people who go into marketing usually are very creative individuals. They work a lot with like graphic artists and stuff like that to create the actual ads, as well as video people to make videos and the actual commercials. They come up and figure out the whole big plan on how they're going to communicate the idea of a product to the people to get them to buy it. And they can actually make quite good money. And again, the background is marketing for the major. All right. Next one is at 13%, a behavioral health technician. So their median salary is around $35,000. But what do these people do, Jill?
They're going to be working in a psychiatric unit. So somewhere where you have mental health patients requiring care. And they're going to be helping them with their daily life activities, hygiene, all that sort of thing, as well as any therapy requirements and things like that.
So these people actually do have college degrees. Their majors are usually like behavioral health, psychology, even human services. So they kind of have a bachelor's degree background, but they may not want to go on to become a counselor, get the extra degrees. You can become a counselor or even a psychiatrist or a psychologist, which requires like a PhD and beyond. So they don't want to go through all that work, but they still want to work with people and be more hands-on, really, helping them on their day-to-day chores and stuff. It has great growth potential, 13% growing into the future. So if this sounds kind of interesting to you, like you like psychology and you like helping people, you want to help people who have these issues and looking for a job that has good growth in the future, you might want to consider doing this. All right, coming in at 13% again is a Java developer. All right, their median salary is around $97,000. Jill, what does a Java developer do?
They are a computer programmer developing programs specifically written in the Java language.
Yes, and a lot of applications in the web-based Java is used a lot in web applications, as well as like apps on phones and stuff like that. So working with a company to develop an app or even their websites in the back end, Java is used a lot on websites as well. So if you like that kind of thing, this is a great growth potential at 13%. Good salary at $97,000 on the average. And again, you'd be getting a major in like computer sciences, software engineering with maybe a little bit of a specialty. You don't have to get a specialty, but learning the Java language to really, be able to work in this field.
That would help.
Yes, it would. All right. Coming in at 17% job growth is a financial manager with a median salary of around $123,000. Another very good salary. Jill, what do financial managers do?
So a financial manager is going to be managing all of the employees that are managing the finances of a corporation.
Right. So these are guys on the back end tracking all. There's the accountants, but these guys are the ones tracking the investments. They're tracking how companies are investing the money and growing, as well as all the budgets and salaries on the back end as well. This is a manager who are managing the people who are tracking all that. In my world, we like to call them the bean counters because I'm an engineer, but they're very important to make sure
Meant in the most complimentary way.
Absolutely,
I'm sure.
Absolutely. But they are very important to a company to make sure that they're going to be profitable. So you don't want to be losing money as a company because otherwise you won't be around very long. So if you want to keep getting a paycheck, you got to make sure you are making money. So they're very important. And again, job growth is 17%. So that's a great outlook. Your background for this would be like finance, accounting, business administration, economics. These type of majors is what you'd want to go into this type of field. You should be decently good in math, obviously. You want to make sure you're getting your numbers correct. But you also like the idea of business as well as and handling money. So if that sounds interesting, you might want to look into this a little bit further.
Do they know you call them bean counters?
I'm sure they do.
You think they like that title?
I'm sure they love it. All right, so coming in at 22%, now we're getting pretty darn good
Yeah.
job growth,
It's really good growth.
is
When you
software.
consider the average was 7.
Right. So software developers. So this is a little bit more broad. We said Java developers earlier was kind of more of a specific niche, as well as AI engineers, again, kind of a more specific niche of this broader group. But this broader group includes a lot of other types of areas of this developing software. Jill, what do these people kind of do in general?
Well, they develop software, Dave.
Oh, okay, that's good.
But like you said, more broadly. So you may be using a variety of languages here, or it might depend on specifically where you go to work.
Right.
But we talked with a software engineer, actually, and he said if you know one language, you're going to be just fine learning the other
Right.
one. So it's not so important, really, which one you know, is that you have all those skills that it takes to make the system work.
Right. So the median salary within the software developers or software engineers, you can look at it that way, is $72,000. Now, you can get your backgrounds in, like, you're going to be in computer science, software engineering, data science, software development, information technology, mathematics even different types of engineering, like electrical engineers. A lot of people eventually kind of spread off and start doing coding in that area. In cybersecurity, you can get specializations in that area. So this really includes a lot of those other areas all wrapped up into one. It's kind of a very broad general idea. And again, a good salary at $72,000, but there are definitely people who make way more than that on the high end, like hundreds of thousands of dollars. And there's people who make way less than that on the lower end of things. I mean, this depends on what company you work for and exactly what you're doing. So just something to think about. All right. Number 20, at 23%, you got mental health specialists with a median salary of $62,000. Jill, what do these people do, and how's this different than the technicians we talked about earlier?
The mental health technician, like we said, is working in more like a psychiatric unit, and they're providing that hands-on care, maybe some therapeutic work, but also like really hands-on, just what they need to live each day. So your mental health specialist is more in charge of the therapy. They're doing that sort of work, actually, not so much just kind of the daily living, but how are we going to help you to grow and recover to get better mentally.
All right. So what kind of majors would they want to have for this specific?
Psychology is a really good one, but usually you're not going to be doing much therapy after just a bachelor's degree in psychology.
Right,
So you need to plan to go on if you want to do
at
something
least a
like
master's, I'd imagine, and maybe even further than that. So understand you're going to be getting additional education. Again, the median salary was $62,000, and again, if you really like to talk to people and really help them try to overcome some of their issues, and you don't want to do all the hands-on work, but be more of the counselor level, this might be a good opportunity for you to. A good career for you to look into. All right, at 28%, you got a data scientist. All right, okay, with a median salary of around $97,000. All right, so this again is kind of a specific area within the larger broad of a software developer, right? But data scientists, I guess I'll jump into this one. They actually look at a lot of data sets. All right, they sort through tons and tons of data, big data, right? In today's world, they have so much data on you from websites, from your cell phones that they're always gathering on you, by the way. And that people want to sort through that to help them make decisions on business sides, for sure, to help them be able to target you more closely, honestly, to advertise to you so they can get you to buy their products. That's one thing. Or for businesses to understand, how to basically get to sell. The businesses are always trying to sell you something because that's how they make money.
They need that information to choose their business direction.
Yes.
And then insurance companies, well, they're going to have actuaries, but
Right.
anybody providing something to you is going to need to know
Right. But
what they can expect.
outside the
from you.
corporate world, you can use this in the medicine world, by the way. They're looking at lots of different data sets to help to understand like how different types of diseases progress, or like maybe how pandemics, how we just had COVID not too long ago, basically how that, how basically different types of things are affecting it. You just look at large, broad sets of data.
And using technology.
Using software to do that. You're not looking through it. You're not sifting through it. Using computers to sift through that to try to find trends and patterns in there. And then to be able to provide that information onto other people to make decisions based off of it. They actually use this in the military as well. So there's lots of different applications for this, and that's why it's growing so broadly and so fast, because there's so much data out there that people are trying to learn how to get their hands wrapped around it, and that requires people who are very good at using computers to find those patterns in that data. And so if that sounds interesting to you, by the way, great job outgrowth, good salaries, and the kind of majors you'd want to get is a computer science, software engineering, statistics, economics, math, those type of backgrounds. Again, you can get a major in just pure mathematics and go into this area. And a lot of engineering, by the way. I know some engineers who just kind of transition over to this from having a normal engineer, a different engineering degree.
But moving into data science may require a graduate degree or some further experience after a bachelor's.
Well, you can get more, but you can actually just do it directly out of with your bachelor's degree. But you can get more specialization to get more into that area. But you might want to actually get specialized training in data science, which you can take some like more. Udacity actually has things on basically data science, but you need to have that background of knowing how to use computers decently well before you just go and jump into this. So that would be my advice. All right, coming in at 33% is a cybersecurity specialist. All right, their median salary is around $90,000, which is a very good salary. Jill, what do cybersecurity specialists do?
They're responsible for keeping things on computers safe.
All right. It's kind of a sub-branch of IT, by the way. You can go into information technology. It's kind of a specialization in that, and there's a whole lot of certifications you can get. So you probably would start off, you can actually absolutely go to like a boot camp type of program to get into this type of field, but it's probably better if you go and get like a bachelor's degree in like computer science or computer programming, and then you even go on to get a master's in like a cybersecurity specialist, and that really allow you to move up and become like a manager and make even more money. But these people in this world, by the way, there's constantly being hacked. Especially big companies are constantly being trying to get hacked by other bad actors who are trying to get their information, other countries even, by the way. So these people are responsible for making sure your firewalls are up to snuff, and actually thinking like a hacker and trying to figure out how do you protect a company's basically information from being stolen by other people on the internet, by the way, or the government, by the way. So that's what these people do. You have to kind of think like a hacker. So if you like the whole idea of being a hacker and kind of doing that kind of thing, but you want to not do something that's illegal, but being on the good side of things,
There's a better choice.
There's a better choice. You actually can get paid, by the way, to go in there and actually help design people's security systems to make it hard to be hacked. All right, that's what these people really do. So again, it's kind of a specialization of information technology. Again, you can go into it with like an associate's degree or even one of these like boot camps just to get your foot in the door. But if you really kind of want to move up, it's probably best if you have a bachelor's degree in like computer science, software engineering, or something like that, and maybe even go on to get a specialty like master's degree in cybersecurity if you really wanted to kind of move up in the world. So again, 33% is just that's a really good job outlook. All right, coming in at 45% is a nurse practitioner. Now, we've talked about this in some of our other podcasts, but we'll talk about it here. These people are actually right up there with some of the best. They make some really good money. They're in our podcast, I believe, about some of the highest earning potential. They definitely have high job satisfaction because they really like what they do and they feel like they make a difference. And the median salary is $115,000. So they make a good wage. Jill, what does a nurse practitioner do?
So a nurse practitioner is a nurse who has then gone on for further schooling so that they can act more like a doctor. They see patients and actually can prescribe medications. So when you go to the doctor, you may see a nurse practitioner and never even see a physician.
Right. So they actually typically don't have nearly as much debt as a doctor does because they're not going on to get that doctorate level of it. But they definitely have additional schooling beyond a bachelor's. I believe it's a master's degree. But the initial bachelor's degree is in nursing. So you get your nursing license first, and then you go on and become a nurse practitioner beyond that. So again, this is a huge job growth. I mean, 45%, that's booming. There's already a decent amount out there, but this just means that it's going to keep on growing more in the future. So if you like nursing, or if you want to kind of be like a doctor, maybe not go through all that medical school, but still want to kind of see patients and prescribe them and have the interaction, a great opportunity right here for you. So you might want to think about that as well. All right. So those are the list of the most of the majors that were not majors, most of the jobs that require like specific college degrees to kind of get into them. Now we're going to talk about a couple careers that you don't necessarily need to have a college degree to go into, but yet have very good job growth outlooks. All right. So coming in high, now we're going to start high and work our way back down low on these because we're just going to flip it a little bit. A wind turbine technician. 68% job growth. Huge. Now, one reason for that is there's just not a lot of them out there right now. So that's kind of what we talked about at the beginning of the podcast. There aren't like millions of people doing this, and it's just a huge growth beyond it. There's actually only about 7,000 people doing this right now. So they're going to come, 68% beyond that in 10 years. So it's not tons and tons of jobs, but it's still a good job growth potential. Jill, what do these people do?
Well, wind turbines are for green energy. The turbines that you see out there spinning, and you may not realize if you haven't been close to them, they're huge.
Yes, they are.
And they're really high up.
Yes, they are.
So these are specially trained technicians who are not afraid of heights.
Absolutely not.
Who climb way up there and do any kind of regular service and maintenance. And then also, if they're broken, they are responsible for the repairs.
Right. So one thing about these people, by the way, this is on our website, by the way, we have this is one of the jobs that we highlight inside of our database. So you can go on there and actually watch some videos and stuff about people who do this type of career and learn more about it. If you actually want to, at h4rl.com. Go check us out. All right. So one great thing about this is they're a little bit electrical because they have to work on the big generators up there. So they have to have a little bit of like an electrician background a little bit. They teach you. This is a lot of this stuff you go on and you get like on the job training or even an associate's degree. In some areas you can get it in
certificate programs.
Yeah. But there's also mechanical aspects because they usually have big gearboxes. And then also if you want a little bit like adventurous, by the way, because they have to crawl up there and they actually hook onto the top and they rappel down. So if you're like a rock climber and you kind of want a job that's a little bit like that, more adventurous, and they're literally hundreds of feet up there and they're rappelling down because they're inspecting these big wind turbine blades for damage and then actually repairing them up there because it's very expensive to take them off. And so they have to do all that work out in the field. So again, if you don't want to be behind a desk, but you actually want to be out there, doing this kind of stuff, this is a great job for those.
All sorts of weather.
All sorts of weather. But again, you would have to be in certain parts of the country that have windmills. That's one area you'd have to relocate if you're not in an area.
It may be windy where you live.
You might be kind of windy where you're living, but it is a great job for those of you out there who might want a little bit more an adventurous job because it really is kind of an adventurous job to go out there and rappel off a couple 100-foot windmill.
But what if I want to live where it's sunny?
Well, if you want to live where it's sunny, let's think about this. Maybe a solar installer. They have a 52% job growth. Again, great outlook.
Green energy is growing.
Green energy is absolutely growing, which is a great thing. It's about 12,000 jobs right now. So again, not millions of jobs right now. So it's not going to be huge numbers of jobs added, but it's still good job growth from where it is. You're going to be making around $76,000. So good money. And Jill, what exactly do these people do?
Well, the same thing. But if you have a fear of heights, that's not really as much of an issue here. You might have to go on roofs.
Yeah, roofs, yes.
Still kind of some heights, and you also maybe then crawling in spaces below. So if you don't like spiders, that also could be bad. But because they have to do all the wiring, and that sometimes that's sun on the roof and then connections down below.
Yeah.
But it's the same sort of entry where you've maybe got an associate's degree, certificate program, on-the-job training.
Yes. So think about sunny places. So if you're in the southwest part of the country, or you want to be in the southwest part of the country, this is where a lot of these jobs are going to be at, right? You're not going to have these so much real far in the north as much because you don't get as much sun in that part of the country, all right? But again, on top of roofs, you might actually be out in the middle of big open desert areas or big open fields because that's actually where they install it. But again, great job growth potential.
You'll see those huge fields of them.
Yeah, so great job potential for you if that's something you're interested in. You want to be definitely hands-on.
Installing, maintaining, repairing.
Yes. All right, now you got at 12% growth is a technical writer. Now, these people, we didn't put them in the other ones because they weren't listed in the top job growth, but they actually technically need a degree typically to get into this field. All right, so the median salary here is $60,000. But if you're someone who really likes to write or really good at grammar, by the way, or really good at taking people's horrible writing like myself and make it better, it's a great job for you. So
they need to understand. That's the thing, is you've got to be a good writer, but you've got to understand the subject matter as well. So if you are doing this for something in the medical field, you've got to have some understanding and knowledge in that, or you're not going to understand the sorts of things that you're trying to write or to revise someone else's writing.
So we have technical writers from where I work. So the engineers usually do the initial draft of a report or something like that, even proposals, by the way. We then hand it off to the technical writing team, and they can have backgrounds in English, journalism, communications. Actually, one of the guys we had a PhD in history because he's a very good writer from his PhD days. And then they take that and they actually really people will have like run-on sentences. They clean all that grammar up, and they really kind of help cut out a lot of the fluff and make it more like directly to the point. They also a lot of times will help you get your messaging better. They actually have a better idea of like how to really pull out the main points and really kind of emphasize those points. So at the end of the day, it reads a lot shorter and a lot more concise, because in the professional world, you don't want to keep writing long sections unless you have to, because people don't want to read that. You want to get your point across very quickly, concisely, and they have to do a very good job of organizing and helping a lot of the technical people kind of get their thoughts in a more readable format. Now, a lot of you might say like, well, I like to do like creative writing. Well, that's great, but honestly, the vast majority of the type of writing out there in the world, by far, it's a gigantic amount more, is technical writing.
It's going to be a lot easier to get paid to do this.
Absolutely, than just learning to write poems or learning just, even if you want to write your own stories, that's great, but if you want to get paid from a company, very few companies pay you to do creative writing, but much more of them will pay a technical writer.
Well, and it's a way to get paid for something you're really good at. Maybe while you work on your own writing and try to submit it and get your break, you can do this and be guaranteed some money.
By the way, you can actually do your own gig work this way. By the way, you can actually go on different sites and actually independent people will hire you to review their manuscripts and their research, stuff like that, and clean it up for them and make it better. So you don't even have to work for a company if you don't want to. There's other ways you can make money if you want to be a little bit more independent and have flexible work schedules. You absolutely can do that as well. But yeah, technical writing. Again, there's about 52,000 jobs out there with a 12% growth. That's pretty good numbers going into the future. So if you like writing, something to look into. All right. Another one is a forest fire inspector and prevention specialist. 10% job growth with about $43,000 a year. Jill, do you know what these people do?
Well, kind of. These are not actually, well, sometimes they start as your firefighters.
Yes.
But then moving into this position, they're not usually actually actively fighting the fires. They're more looking at what caused it, what risks are there for fires somewhere else, and making recommendations for how we're going to prevent fires.
So it's kind of a scary thing that this is one of the biggest job growths coming out.
Yeah, that's not great.
Because of how much, especially out west, there's a lot drier areas, long droughts, and some people live near all these very large forests, which are awesome. I think forests are great, but they're very dry, and that can be dangerous. Obviously, catching on fire and burning up whole towns and villages. So these people go in there and try to help understand like how can we better build our communities in these type of environments, but minimize our fire risk. They also go in there and figure out where a fire started so they can understand like how to prevent it in the future. Also figure out who is responsible, because they actually will go after those people for the cost of those fires too, by the way.
And there's a lot to managing those forest areas so that they're not such a fire risk. Because
Right.
there are things you can do to not burn down the whole forest, but
Absolutely. And they come in and try to
reduce your risk.
They kind of help work with governments to try to help figure out how to better manage their forests. So in that case, you go to fire school or get a certificate program and get some on-the-job training to go into this type of field. So if this sounds interesting to you, you can be kind of a detective, but also in nature and help protect communities in the future from getting burned down. Might be a great job for you to look into. All right, so that was a couple other careers out there in case you don't want to have to go to college, but you still want to have a job or career that has good job outlook. So now we're going to kind of summarize all this up. So the most in-demand majors based off the most in-demand careers, the number one was computer science. There's a lot of them out there that's really good at that.
We just kept saying computer science is the major to do this job. It kept coming up.
That's number one. So it's not really a surprise. So if you really want to go out, get a great job right now, computer science is a way to do it. It's going to have a great outlook in the future. But if you don't want to do that, the next one down would be business administration, economics, and finance. Again, a lot of great outlook in those type of areas as well that we talked about, those majors. And then number three is nursing. Nursing in general, as well as nurse practitioner, and even some specialty areas within nursing, all have great job outlooks. So again, if you really want to help people, you like working with your hands, and that medical stuff doesn't really bother you, great career path to look into. And lastly, the areas if you don't really want to go to college to look into would be like forest fire inspector, solar installer, or wind turbine technician. All right, I think that kind of sums up our list for right now.
Yeah, so that's it. So remember, if those jobs sound interesting, that's awesome, but there's more research you need to do. You need to find out if that job that has good potential growth is really going to be a good fit for you. So there's a lot of steps to that to find out about your own goals and strengths and all these different things. And we have a program to help you do that. So if you visit us at h4rl.com, you can check out our career exploration and planning course. You can even get a free trial, and you can see what's in there. So it's a really great idea so that you can be confident that not only have you picked a good career for the future, but one that's going to be a good fit for you.
Absolutely.
And please give us a thumbs up, subscribe, like it. We'd really appreciate it.
All right. See you next time.
Thanks.